question across to all of the city council members or to an individual group of people or an individual person. It's up to you. We just remind you to please be respectful in your questions. We'll take questions from the audience.
My name is Joseph Hayes. I'm basically a lifetime resident of Brewer and retired. And my first question, I've got a question, but I'll start with this one. I'd like to know what each one of your position is on the fiberite, which is the trash. And I want to see what each one of the councilors have their feeling is on that particular. I know my opinion is, but we'll get with this.
Okay, so the question is going to go to all 5 candidates running for the city council seats. And so we'll go here. I'll change the order for responses to questions, but I'm going to start here with Suba.
What was the question?
What was our opinion on fiberite?
Apologies.
I'm sorry.
So the question is the city council members or the city council candidates' opinion on
Fiberite.
fiberite.
That is your replacement of going to Perk.
Okay.
They're now, some of it may be going to Perk, but some of it's going to the Ridge. And there's a lot of money being spent on a thing that hasn't run only 6 months. So that's basically the gist of my question.
So each candidate, just to remind you, you have 3 minutes to respond to the question. If you need the whole time, we'll have the time running again for you as well. Okay.
So yeah, that was a disappointment, to say the least. We were able to get the core of the plant, solve all the possibilities, but then it turns out that the place really wasn't going to be able to succeed. And I would like to see that something like that is available for the citizens of Brewer, because number one, all this recycling that we think we're doing isn't being done. And that was the part that really captivated me when I visited the plant. The recycling was done automatically by machine, and the waste was being used to produce other goods. So I felt really good about what it's doing for our community and environment and waste. I really would like to look into making sure that something like that is being replaced, and that those that kind of failed the community of Brewer are held accountable to make sure that that doesn't happen to us again, because that was a lot of money invested for something that did not go the way that we had hoped that it would.
We'll go to Michelle next.
Well, the MRC has worked really hard to get the fiberite plant back up and running. If you've been keeping track of what's been happening with it, the chair of the MRC is the finance director for the city of Brewer.
Also a resident of Warrington.
Right. We are kept up to date on that. So we may have a little bit more of those of us who serve on the city council than others, because I ask for it often and we get it in our updates of what's happening. The biggest thing people are asking for is recycling. People want to be able to recycle. Right now, the fiberite plant is the only way to do it at a cost that is not going to be so excessive that you can't afford to do it. There were towns and cities that had their recycling shipped to southern Maine, and the cost was phenomenal. We could not do something like that to Brewer. The taxes that would be involved, things that would happen would be too excessive. So the solution is what they came up with. Everything is going through that plant should be coming back online, and it will be overseen greatly by the towns and cities at this point. So I don't have as big a fear as I did before that this will not go through. I'm hoping, but there's still parts out there that are still in the works. So it's a justification of how much money you want to spend on something. But there's still more out there. Does that answer something?
Well, it hasn't worked really well, and I got the other answer, so.
Yeah.
I'm just afraid we're putting more money down a hole.
The next will be Howard Kroll.
Thank you. Mr. Hayes, great question. As you know, I wasn't running for city council back going on 6 years ago when this was a topic that was sold to over 100 communities in the state of Maine. Each one, I think, did it with the best intentions for new technology on treating their MSW as well as sorting their recyclables. Right now, it's in a state of flux, I guess you could say. We're thankful that we can still take our MSW to Perk Plant Norrington or Juniper Ridge or Norwich Walk to be treated. But right now, all those communities have a vested interest to make sure that fiberite plant gets up and running. How long it's going to take, I don't know. It's been negotiated with a number of different investors that have fallen through. And I don't know what the buyout would be or the penalty would be to go back on that agreement. But I think the city is probably over that threshold where they've got to see this through so that every opportunity is there to make it successful. If it's not, I'm sure there's got to be an out clause so you can go back to the Perk Plant in Norrington where, I mean, I've known you a long time and I think you know my philosophy that,
And
you know what,
I've done
I only
for work,
gamble with my own money. I don't do it with the public's. And, you know, the city council in Brewer at the time voted to do it as well as, like I said, over 100 municipalities in central, western, eastern Maine. And I think it's their obligation to see it through and to do the best I can. I know Karen Purcell, who's the finance director, is also the chairman for MRC. I know a number of the committee members that are, you know, their reputation is on the line to see this through, and I think they're doing the best I can. They're dealing with private investors that are there to make a profit, and they're not going to do it if there's no opportunity to seize that. So I think you really have to give it an opportunity to totally be a failure, and I don't think we're there yet.
Can I follow up a little bit with him? A couple of questions. What would you have done, Howard, when you were the manager over in Auburn and the manager at Herman?
Well, it's kind of not fair. When I was the city manager in Auburn, we had our own MSW plant in town.
Yeah.
So we had spent 30 years of debt payments to have no more debt on about the same time that fiberite came on. So it kind of was done for me. I wasn't I wasn't in Eastern Maine at the time, but I think they did what they thought was best for their community.
Right, and next we have Shane Boyce.
Great question. I will be the first to say I'm not super familiar with what's going on with this right now. But what I do know is that it's always very frustrating when my wife and I throw our trash away and we're putting recyclables in with the trash, knowing that they're not going where they're supposed to go and that they're not being recycled as they should be. I've talked to a lot of folks you mentioned the Juniper Ridge plant, and talked to a lot of folks who have been really impacted by the environmental damage caused by the Juniper Ridge facility. And it pains me to think that some of our waste might be contributing to that. I think we need a better solution than what we have now. From the sounds of what my colleagues here are saying, this might be the best option for right now, and it's not working. So we need to commit time and energy and effort to making it work, or finding an alternative solution. But I think Mayor Daniels was right. People want to recycle. This is probably the most cost-effective way to do it. But we need it to work, to make it worth the money. Because if we're just throwing money at a problem that really isn't being solved and may not be solved for quite some time, is that really the best solution? Or is there something else we could do here in the city? So unfortunately, I don't have a better answer for you, but it's a great question and I'm glad that you asked it.
And finally, Don Corey.
Well, I'm going to be the second behind Shane to say that I'm not totally up to speed on this process, but it would just seem that with as many communities involved as there are, I would hope that we could either hold them to their feet to the fire and do what they were contracted to do with originally, or when we start investigating some alternatives and cut ties with them. And recycling is huge. I mean, exactly what James said about, people, they don't like throwing the recyclables out in the trash. And knowing that it's not going where it should be. So hopefully, as we get a little closer to them coming back online, we can, thoroughly investigate that it's going to be what it says it's going to be this time. I'm sure the council back when it was voted on originally thought that that was the right thing to do, but hindsight's always 20/20. So hopefully we can look at the current and into the future and see what's going to be the best for the city.
Thank you all. Another question here from the audience. We had one here in front. Yeah, if you'd like to go ahead.
I'm not real familiar what the school committee is responsible for, to be honest with you. And so I'm curious as to what you really do and how that impacts the life of a student, certainly relative to their mental health and to what's going on around them, because there's so much that we hear. And I don't know if that's your role or what. So can you sort of help me with that? Oh, and I'm Judy Street, so.
Thank you, Judy. As school committee member, it is a honor to serve the community and also be an advocate for the students, faculty, staff, and parents. And in order for me to best answer that question, I would need to be involved in school committee meetings prior to providing that answer for you. But I can tell you that the goal of me being on school committee is to ensure that there's transparency happening between our school committee as well as parents, so staff and faculty members as well as teachers. It's important for them to be transparent with parents and guardians so that they know what's going on within the school system. In terms of what we do, my understanding based on looking at documentation prior to this event is to ensure that we are making decisions in the best interest of the students and fostering an environment where they have an opportunity to learn and grow and transpire into the adults that we are sitting here in this room in the future.
Question up here in the middle. Don't you?
Just want to ask Kayla one more question, please.
What's your name?
My name is Kevin O'Connell. Thank you. Do you support a school resource officer in both schools?
Do I support a school resource officer in both schools? Yes, I do.
More questions from the audience? Yeah.
I'm Jen Warren, and I had the opportunity about 3 weeks ago to walk the homeless encampment in Bangor. And so I'm just curious for the city councilors, because I'm also thinking about it, like, are you, where do you stand as far as decriminalization of illicit drugs or safe injection sites? I'm curious where you stand.
So for this round, we will go reverse order, and then for the next question, we'll just switch it up so that everyone has a chance to answer quick. So we're going to start here with John Corey.
Well, homelessness and drug use are two huge issues. I know firsthand from, I have several friends that had found needles along the waterfront, both sides of the river. I think more prevalent in Bangor than Brewer. And I think that we need a firm commitment from our community and from the police force and their support, giving them support to enforce the laws that we have. And I don't think we want to make it any more lenient than it already is.
Boys?
Next. Councilor Moran, thank you for the question. I would like to challenge your question a little bit because I think it's two separate things. You brought up the idea of homelessness and in the same question, decriminalization and safer injection sites. And I think those are two distinctly different issues.
Well, if I could add, and just to clarify, I thought I was prepared and I knew what I was going to be walking into when I went over there. I found there was along the path, there were needles everywhere. And so, to me, it's, trying to figure out how we address the challenges because it's just not safe.
Of course, yes. So as I was saying, these are two distinctly different issues that can have overlap. There is a large number of our homeless population that do use injection drugs and other types of drugs, but I see them as two separate issues that need to be addressed in two separate ways. I would love to answer your question about decriminalization, but that is not the role of the city council. That is a state issue, as well as safe injection sites. If it became legal at the state level, it would be a conversation for each municipality. And I think each municipality would want to seek input from the people that would be living near those locations. I do agree that homelessness is a severe issue in the entire state, in the entire country right now. I work at Eastern Maine Community College as the student navigator, and part of my role is helping students navigate homelessness and helping them find potential solutions to not be homeless. And that is one of the hardest parts of my job, because right now you can't find housing anywhere for any amount of money unless your pockets are lined with gold. You're not going to find a place that you can afford, especially as a young person. That's why I think we need to focus on bringing affordable housing to the city of Brewer. We do have some, we could have more. Bringing in affordable housing is going to provide housing for people that can't afford to buy a house or rent an overpriced apartment. And it's going to bring business to the city of Brewer. The more people that live here, the more people we have that are going to eat at our restaurants and shop at our stores. I think that's one issue. I think the drug use issue is another thing. I'm a firm believer that is a mental health struggle for people. Most people do not consciously make the choice to use drugs. Maybe they did at the beginning, but it becomes a habit that is ingrained in their mind. That is the scientific definition of addiction. It's not a choice that people make. And I believe that people should have access to the tools and treatments to help them recover. I don't think that treating all drug users like criminals is the solution, and I would not support any effort by the city to do that. What I would support is an increase in funding for mental health services, for outreach services to the unhoused and to our drug user population. And I would support bringing those voices to the table, because ultimately we can try to make solutions and throw answers at people, but if we don't have buy-in from those people, they're not going to do anything that we tell them to do unless they're involved in the decision-making process. Thank you for your question.
We have Howard Kroll.
Thank you for picking me.
I'm not sure.
As far as decriminalizing drug use, that's a very slippery slope. You have hypodermic needles thrown all about. There comes a point in time where you've got to ask yourself, you know what, this really isn't safe for Joe Citizen just out for a walk, and they've been exposed to something that they didn't ask for. And it's nothing against anyone that's addicted to drugs, but we've got a huge problem with mental health and homelessness in this area, and I think we've turned a blind eye to it because it's easy to do over on this side of the river. And if we think for a second that they can't cross any one of those bridges, you got another thing coming, because it's all around you. I live in South Brewer, and if you think for a second that I don't see hypodermic needles on South Main Street, you're very wrong, because it's here. And we have a lot of resources at our fingertips that we kind of almost refuse to use. And I'm talking about funds that the county and city of Bangor have from ARP money. I'm not saying it's all going to be used on criminalization of the drug problem, but you have a major population of homeless that are not accounted for. They might not be in the waterfront areas, but they're all along borders of various municipalities where you don't see them, and you're not going to see them until it's either too late, or they're freezing to death, or they've been admitted to the hospital, or the police have had to go and have an encounter with them to take them to either the hospital or a homeless shelter. Because right now, the only homeless shelter you have in this region for families with small children is in Waterville or in Ellsworth, where you could possibly have a bed open. So you've got some major challenges in this region. And I don't have a great answer for you. I just know that, you know what, I don't want any resident, any child, anyone to be accidentally exposed to anything because someone, throws a needle on the side of the road, because you know what, they don't know what they're doing. That's not an excuse. But at the same time, you know what, we all are in this together, and, you know, they're probably people that we walk by every day that have that problem. You just don't know it until it's too late. And you know what? The police are doing a Narcan run on them to get them revitalized, and it's a crying shame. So hopefully we can work with other agencies in this area, as well as the county, city of Bangor, and our mental health partners to come up with a solution. Thank you for
Thank you. So we have Michelle LeBrie Daniels.
As you know, we are a small city, so we are 9,300 plus people. And we don't necessarily look at things the same way as a larger city as Bangor would look at. We also don't get the money that they get. Where they got $20+ million, we got less than $1 million. Those things are for infrastructure for us to save the taxpayers money. When it comes to homelessness, if you think it's not here, or drug addiction, Chamberlain Park, which is overseen by the Historical Society, had 48 needles picked up in it by the person who was doing the weed whacking. He came to talk to me. He's the same guy that does my lawn, and he was very concerned about it. It's here. Our police department deals with it all of the time. The question is, we are not the experts in that. I am not an expert in drug addiction. I am not an expert in homelessness. So when it comes to it, we tap those people. We talk to those people that have the resources to give us that information to make sure that we make the right decisions for the city. Have we come to that? No, but we rely on our police department to tell us what we need to do. They are the experts, and they deal with this day in and day out. If they tell us they need help, that is what the city council is for, to make sure they get that help. So I hope I answered most of it.
Thank you. And then we have Suvon Pantai.
Yeah, this is a prevalent topic in conversation lately for people I know. Mental health is a big issue, and I think that's a big part of drug use. I've lost a nephew a couple of years ago from drug use, and and I'm sure everyone here has known someone. It's like a cancer that we need to cure. Like Mayor Daniels mentioned, we definitely have desires to solve the problem, to not be a pandemic of sorts. But we do need to leave some of the research, because we can't physically be there ourselves to get this information and to get the details of what's going on, to make an informed decision of what we should do. So we do rely on the guidance of our police officers and those that are working in places like the barn, what's needed there. So to support those services that are providing services for those that need help. I do believe that not having affordable housing is a main issue for some of, maybe half, I don't know. I don't know the numbers. Like I said, I'm not an expert either, of the people that are homeless. And I think if we can find, I think we should make it, if I had a choice, this would be an emergency topic to make sure people are housed, that want to be housed, that want to be off the street, that don't want to do drugs, that want help those that could be helped, and want to be helped. And for those that can't be helped, we have to treat them with compassion, but let them know that there's laws that we need to uphold. And you can't ignore the laws, or it will just be the Wild West and anything goes. But like Michelle said, we're not experts, but this is my personal opinion about it, what I would do if I had the power to make things happen.
Thank you all for your response and for your question. Do you have any other questions, or why don't we take just a quick moment, and I'll address the people that are online, just so that you have an opportunity. If you would like to take a moment and unmute, or if you have any questions, we haven't had any questions in the chat, but I want to give just a moment, because we have the opportunity for those that are virtual to unmute and ask your question. If you'd like, just please remember to state your name. see anybody and nobody's unmuting, so I just wanted to make sure that we were including them as well. So are there any other questions from the audience? Yeah, here at the front.
Question for the trustees.
You just state your
Um,
name.
My name is Lee Olmert, 73 Sunset Strip. You're wrapping up the work on the schools. Beautiful job, by the way. What's coming up on the horizon that might entail a large expenditure of municipal funds?
Sure, we will start,
I was just gonna direct that to Greg. Greg will give you,
I'm not, I don't think it'd be right for you to answer. Not what you were asking.
oh. I'm going to defer to Janessa.
Go ahead, and then maybe they can comment on what you have to say.
Okay, the only thing I'll add is I'm not sure how much they would know without being on it already. Maybe
Yeah.
right. I do know some of the Superintendent Palmer is here and can maybe share something, and then we'll.
Yeah, I'll be 30 seconds. So I would say that you're never done on the inside of a building. This building's not done. It's been great, but there's more work to do. We didn't get to some things. The money, so one of the things I think the trustees to wrestle with is that the federal state money is, many school districts around the country, I read a story, national story the other day, that school districts haven't spent all this money they've been given. We spent all ours. So we're needing to figure out how to continue to do things with that money being now gone. And the community school, as folks who work there know, doesn't have the cooling that the high school now has. So we've got a little bit there, but there's more work to be done on that side of things. And there's work to be done in the outside grounds with both buildings.
We can, so we'll start with the timer if you have something to respond to. So we will go ahead with Ruth Murray Spellman.
I was going to say that we as trustees try not to increase tax dollars. So we work with the school committee and with the city council. And if we have projects that need to be done, we try to kind of hold off until some of our debt is paid so that we can pay for the new projects that we do. So it's not saying that we don't have things that we want to do, but they not necessarily will get done when we want to. We work hard at that. So,
Thank you. So we'll go to anybody else?
well, I don't know because I'm not on the board. All I can say is if the projects are coming up, I try to make sure they get done responsibly, money-wise. Not just throw tons of money at something from nowhere. Be responsible.
Thank you. Other questions from the audience? Sure, we'll go in the back here. Yep. With you, sorry, almost in the back.
There's only one candidate for the school committee here tonight, that's Kayla. I have a question for you, Kayla. Dr. Shah of the Maine CDC recently voted with the CDC, who was one of 15 members, to vote to recommend the COVID vaccine for young children in school systems. He did say that this is not a mandate from the federal CDC, but he did in fact wholeheartedly support that. So my question to you is, if Dr. Shah decides as the head of the Maine CDC to vote that those vaccines are mandated, or let's just say he recommends it. If he recommends to the public school system in the state of Maine that all children are vaccinated in order to attend Brewer school system, I'd like to know you, if you get elected to be on the school committee as a voting member, will you vote to go along with Dr. Shah, or will you vote against that?
So if I hear your question correctly, my understanding is that you're asking that Dr. Shah has potentially asked for a mandate for students to be vaccinated in schools.
No, I didn't say that. I said he was one of the 15 members, voting members, a week or so ago, that voted 15-0 to recommend that put the COVID vaccines as a recommended vaccination for young school children, I believe age 6 and up. If in the fall or any point, based on a past history, if Dr. Shah decides to recommend, forcefully recommend or even mandate, tell the school, you as the school committee, I want the Brewer school system, all of your children to be vaccinated before they can attend the school system. You, as a committee member, I want to know if you're going to vote for that in agreement with Dr. Shah, or are you going to say no?
I think if I am understanding your question correctly, if Dr. Shah is mandating it, then it's based on a state guideline that the school committee would not have any say into, which would be not in my position to answer that question.
Well, mandate is a kind of a tricky word because there's really no mandate, but he recommends it to the Brewer school system. You are a voting member. I want to know how you would vote.
A recommendation and a mandate are two separate
Yeah, so if he
discussions.
recommends it,
So if he recommends it, then I would turn to what the state guidance mandate, or if it's not if it's a recommendation, it's not a mandate.
you have no personal thoughts on that right now.
My personal thoughts and what the state legislature puts in place are two separate.
Final question, I don't want to push it, that's just my final question. I'm just trying to get a feel of where you're coming from.
Sure, absolutely.
I'm not judging you, I'm just
No,
trying to
that's
get a feel of where you stand. If they recommend, it doesn't go through the main state legislature. If he recommends and he makes public, he has Northern Lights recommend and they have a campaign, we really think this is a great idea. When this comes up for a committee vote, I want to know how you personally feel about it. Would you vote for it or against it?
I think that the personal vote towards the school committee is my vote would be what's in the best interest of the students.
And that is what is that?
What's in the best interest of the students, and based on a medical documentation is potentially a HIPAA violation in which the parents have a say in what their child is vaccinated or not vaccinated.
Okay, thank you very much.
Next question from someone in the audience?
Daniel, it's a broad question, but taking notes and listening to all of you talk, I have put down here problems versus progress in the city of Brewer. First of all, is it best to invest our money in the city in so-called downtown Brewer, wherever that is?
I didn't know either until 2 years ago, so don't even.
Or is it best to
I thought it was a
invest
joke.
in the Wilson Street area? Business area. Or is it best to put our resources in the waterfront? And what is the plan for the waterfront? So while I'm listening to you, you talked about the trash. We have two councilmen that are already on the council. You did not paint a picture of what we really know, what we're gonna be doing. Just me sitting back, listening to you, listening to other people talk about this. Someone needs to take the bull by the horn and get things done. And we've been, I don't know how many years on this, but it's just ongoing. Maybe there isn't, and maybe there isn't a solution, but something has to be done. Trash is some issue. The homeless, housing, the mental health. And then one word that a few of you use is communication. And then I think it was you, somebody that said, I want to do more beyond. So my question is that, let's put it, what do we do more in the city of Brewer to improve it and make it better? And there's no question, we have some great things going on. There's no question, this summer was a great year to go down the waterfront on the Brewer side. And I would hate to have anything done to the waterfront area that when we go on South Main Street, we are able to see the water, which is just the opposite of what they've done in Bangor. Because you can't see the waterfront from State Street to Bangor. Or Main Street. So, what a great resource we have in this, and there is not, I talked to many people after that week, that long weekend, we had shooting, concert going on, and every single one of us was in. That place was clean, and it was safe, and it was enjoyable to go down there. Now, how can we build on that to make it better? You have the recreation department that does such a great job of making that clean and respectful. Recreation department did an outstanding job trying to get that pool going. And how long do we keep that pool going? And pouring money into that. So I guess that's, how do we, what do we do more? I guess that's an open question.
Okay, so that was gonna say my question. So I'll repeat it. I'll repeat the question in general is just for the city council or for everybody?
No, it's, no.
Okay. And the question is, what can we do more for Brewer? Okay. And so we are gonna start with Howard Kroll.
What can we do more? I think talking to your business owners in town or what they could see for improvements, because I think that's one of the sectors that I don't think really gets a lot of attention that maybe some of the competitors in the region have that opportunity. I'm not saying it's a bad thing or a good thing, but you got to make yourself competitive for every business that is in Brewer and ones you want to attract to Brewer. So I think we could do more marketing of the city on how good of a business sector that we have, the quality of life that we have, that I think we kind of take for granted in a way. We've got a top shelf school system. I think we've been fortunate to experience the demand for housing in Brewer, probably an opportunity that my generation will never see again in terms of attracting young families or people that want to move to Brewer. So I think if we could market ourselves on showing what kind of quality of life that we have, and it's not just business, but it's also everything that goes into that. I think we could do that quite easily. I think it's just a different philosophy that a council would probably have to interject with city staff on, how do we game plan to make ourselves more attractive to the outside world? I'm not saying we're not doing it now, but I'm not saying you're doing it. And it's a very competitive world out there for every person that wants to start a business or move a business or to relocate. You've got to be able to sell them on everything that a brewer can offer them, whether it be housing for their employees, education for their children. You got a lot of good things going for you here. It's just a matter of capturing it and showing what you're capable of. But I think you got to think outside the box on this. Not easy answer. I ain't gonna lie.
Thank you. We're going to go to Michelle Labrie Daniels next.
Okay, everything I've learned in the last 3 years in 3 minutes. Land is privately owned. If the land's privately owned, the amount that they want for it, the old JR's land, that's for $325,000 a year and a half, 2 years ago, is now on the market for $925,000. The city cannot afford to buy that land. In the last year or two, we've worked to get the city funds to be able to buy properties to bring in businesses, to court businesses that would look good on the waterfront. Right now, those prices are so high that we wouldn't do that to you. That's taxpayer wise, that's not something that we would be there. So taking that into account, the privatization of everything, if if prices start to go down and the city can start purchasing things, then that makes the difference of it. But right now, really, the city doesn't control what goes into those areas because they don't own them. Do you go into zoning? Do you go into, those are all other things you could touch on, but that's really intrusive in some areas. When it comes to the waterfront, it's exceptional. People rave about it. The security, the bike police that have been started down there. I walk there at 10 o'clock at night. I walk there at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm never bothered by anybody except people that want to talk and say hi and talk about the city. My husband jokes that I can be gone for 3 hours on a mile-long walk. So, yeah. And the other thing is that there's a difference between the council and the city staff. The city has their idea of what they'd like to do, and the council sometimes has an idea of what they want to do, or an individual counselor. It takes us as a group to decide on something that we want to push. Do we want to change something? And that takes more than me saying that. That takes the council as a group to come in and say, this is how we're going to change it. This is what we want to do. And until there's a plan, that's just kind of out there. So I think what you brought up with the landscaping, the upkeep of everything in the pool, DJ Hart at Parks and Rec is phenomenal when it comes to anything. Our waterfront is spot on. The pool, they work their butts off to get those pumps fixed. They didn't get very much time with them. To the pool, how much more money do we put into it? I agree with you. The question is will it last a little bit longer on it? That's something that we're going to have to address when it comes to it. I've heard splash pad. She's not here tonight, but if Lisa was here, she would, I've been hearing from the younger generation, they would really like to see a splash pad instead of a pool. That's it.
Okay. Thank you. We are going to go to Don Corey next.
Well, not having served on the council, I can't really comment on how the process with the city would work, but from an outsider looking in, communication, teamwork, again, I think are critical. And we put together a group from the council to meet with some of the key people, Darcy, at Economic Development, and some of the great resources that we have in the city departments, Mike Martin at the rec department, Public Works, all of them. Get something together so that we could work towards a common goal. And, unfortunately, a lot of things we're talking about, more things relates to money. I mean, the bottom line is it's how much is the city willing to do, or the residents willing to do tax-wise. So I think all of that with the finance department from the city hall is try to come up maybe with a plan, talking to other communities who are facing the same things that we are. I know very well what Michelle's talking about. I have a small business near the waterfront, and that place gets used. I mean, there are people parking there all the time, and everybody just raves about it. So, I mean, that's definitely a jewel, and I think if we can build on that and expand, things that make sense, expand things in the community, housing, I think that's the way to go. But I think we've got to work. It's got to be a mutual teamwork process. We got to work together to come up with a plan, and then we can look at how we work with the citizens to make it happen.
Okay, thank you. We are going to go to next.
Wow, it feels good to be last.
You're
And I say that.
You're not last.
You're not last. You're not last.
Second to last?
Yeah, Shane.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Oh, Shane, sorry. Sorry, Shane.
It's okay.
No, I really would like to see, I love what's happening at the Brewer Waterfront. And the question really is about money. How do we fund it? How do we fund it without hurting the citizens of Brewer? And what will be we just need the ball rolling. I think if the council members got together, figure out what it is with economic development, and find out what is probably the best way to get the ball rolling, as in invest in one thing that will act as a domino effect to bring more families to pay more taxes and to bring more businesses. Is it the business that we need to attract? Is it the families? I mean, which way should we go? I think if we sat down as council members and figure that one out and then be on board together as a team, working with economic development, I think that would be the goal to make that happen. And also, from what I've been hearing from citizens that own businesses in the city of Brewer, is that I think we would benefit from having more efficient city hall processes, paperwork, things like that, and some leniency here and there. Of course, there's rules that are just really dangerous to not follow. But be as accommodating to some of these businesses if that we want to attract, because if it wasn't for some leniency here and there, it would be. I mean, I own a business right at the waterfront too. I own the selfie space on the second floor, and it's been really good there. But I'm hearing that I'm not getting that same type of response from other businesses, and I'd like to see that change. And I think the only way to really do that is to come together as a council and discuss what is possible, what can we do to make it happen, and also what do we focus on. I mean, the waterfront is great. I love it. Would love to expand on that, but also we should take some of that attention to Wilson Street and other parts of the city too, because Wilson Street has a lot of properties that could be transformed into more businesses, and I like to see that happen in the future.
Thank you. We will end with Shane Weiss.
It's good to be last. There it is. I'm going to take a little bit of a different approach to your question, which was, what do we do more of to make the city better? And I think that the answer starts right here. And yes, that is very corny. I will own it. We need to listen more. The city council needs to listen to the citizens of Brewer. And it's not that they don't want to. I think it's that currently there's not a lot of information out there about what the city council is, what they do, who the members are, how do you contact them, when are the meetings, where are the meetings. That information is not readily available to the public. And if elected, I would work to change that, because I think the city councilors work for the citizens of Brewer. We can't do the work of the citizens of Brewer if we don't know what it is that they want. And so my answer to your question is, listen. One last thing, in my campaigning, going door to door, collecting signatures for this, I've been asking everybody who signs my paper, I say, if you could change one thing about the city of Brewer, what would you change and why? And I've heard things all over. I put notes in my opening speech, but people saying, roads and sidewalks that are in disrepair, parks that are neglected, lack of affordable housing, the opioid epidemic, the fact that we don't have a dog park, lack of information about city council and events within the city. And honestly, the concern that came up most was that last piece. They don't have the information about city council. We have lots of people that live right here in the city of Brewer that have fantastic ideas about things we should be doing differently to make this a better city for our residents. And sure, it's all well and good to talk about bringing in new business and attracting new residents. We need to do that too, but we should be listening to the people that live here now so that they stay here. I know I said one last thing, but I promise one last thing. Not only do I want those meetings, the information to be published, I want them to be accessible to all of our residents. I think we've done a great job on the school committee with live streaming our meetings every month. And so folks can't always necessarily participate that way, but they can log on and listen. They can be informed. They know how to reach out to Superintendent Palmer or to the school committee. But the city council doesn't do that. They only do that when a member needs to not be present. I think we should be broadcasting those meetings live every meeting. I would encourage folks to figure out currently, if you wanted to contact a city councilor, what's the email address? There's one email address for the entire city council. The councilors' emails are not published. If you wanted to reach out to Mayor Daniels or Deputy Mayor Pantai, you couldn't, unless you do so through other means. So we need to be present. You need to be able to contact us. We need to work for you.
5 seconds. Good job.
Yeah, thank you.
Just to follow up again, Dan O'Donnell, is that you mentioned, Michelle, you mentioned on a plan. And I only gonna say this only because I said I was doing this, and that is, I was on the last 10-year comprehensive team for this, and we keep, and it's supposed, I think, all members staff, we have to do that, supposed to do that. And I don't know where that report, the last meeting.
We got a copy of it when we were elected.
Yeah,
Yeah, we did get we got a copy of it, but that was what, 2015? So we're beyond, that, so very much so.
There was a plan in there, and there was a plan, you talked about the waterfront,
Mhm.
there was a plan in there for the waterfront, and I'm not sure, because all things was gonna take time. And the other thing I was gonna say is, we have outstanding candidates here. In the city council, we've only got one, we'll vote two. And the trustees were only be able to vote one, and we had one senior. My question is, if you don't win, how do you keep involved with the city of Brewer to give us the assets that you are providing? Can provide if you want, if you didn't win, what can you offer us?
Okay, so we will answer that question, and then we have a follow-up question to a previous question online, so we'll come back to that. But we're gonna do yours first, just because we have everyone right here. So I just wanted to make sure that our attendees online knew that we see your question, and we will ask that as a follow-up question here in just a moment. I'm actually gonna start with our high school trustees and allow them to respond to this first. So last time we started with respondents, so we're gonna start here with Daniel.
I would continue on the planning board. I've been doing that for 3 years. And I'm also the sounding board for my wife. Yeah, it's well known, she's my wife.
I admit to it.
So I know a lot of what's going on, and I'm over here biting my lip because I'm not running for that position. But I would still stay steadfast in supporting her or any one of the other 4 candidates. Come ask me, I'll give them my 2 cents. But I'll stand behind you. We have to. We gotta work as a team. There's no coulda, shoulda, woulda. If you would have helped me here, you could have helped me there. No, do it now. If it doesn't ask, offer it to them. Work together as a community. All as one. The community divided won't stand.
Okay, so we'll go to Ruth Marie Spelnick.
Are we still on the thing?
If you'd like to, so the original question, if you'd like to make comments on that, you'll have 3 minutes to
That's what I-
respond. So you can do that, and if you'd like to respond as well, to what would you do if you were not elected as the second part? Like, how could you still support the community in that role?
My answer would be to that, if you weren't elected, still attend the meetings, because we do not get anybody there, the public, the public comment, and I think it would be really great to have people. We're very open, and they're all public meetings. And so I think that's the biggest.
And did you have anything you wanted to add to that first part? I know you originally had something you might have wanted to add.
Yes,
to-
on the last question.
Sure, yeah, if you want to use
That's
your
why I
time for
wasn't
that, that's
sure.
okay.
I don't want to repeat everything that everybody said. That's been great response. But I was saying, I've been on different boards that we have done things, and then everything gets filed at the end of it. But I think a good thing to do would be to send out a feeler to all citizens and tell them they don't have to sign it, because a lot of people won't sign if they won't say anything. And get some information and try to work with it. Don't file it away. Use it. Thank you.
Thank you. So with I just want to give Kayla a chance if you have anything that you would like to say. I know this question, the question is about elected, so I just don't know if you have something that you would like to add in your position. As far as-
I would just add the community involvement piece, and I think that if you're not engaged and you're not involved and you don't know what's going on, to get involved and stay involved, and as part of many of the nonprofits that I'm on, and the community development work that I do, with being a mortgage loan officer and hearing all of the housing challenges that we're currently faced with. If you're not part of the discussion, then you can't be part of the solution. So just being active in the community is important.
So we'll give the candidates running for the city council seats a chance as well. We are going to start with Shane Boyce.
Excellent. If I don't win, I'm gonna run away and join the circus. Just kidding. My wife and I bought our house. We're very happy there. We will stay in the city of Brewer regardless of what happens. I will continue to be involved through the many different volunteer activities that I do in the community. But one thing I would like to do more is I would like to join some of the boards and committees that the city has. I went to the Historical Society Spaghetti Supper the other night, and it was fantastic. It was so well attended. The energy in the room was great. And I would love to participate with that kind of committee, with any committee, really. I kind of took the quick route to jumping into public service without, getting experience and practicing with some of these committees. And I think if I don't win here, that's my next stop. But this will not be the last you see of me.
Okay, Siobhan Canfag.
I would continue to build my business right here in Brewer and also work with the local businesses through the BBA, Brewer Business Alliance, and figure out what we can do to support the local businesses in our area. And also go to meetings, even though even though I'm not in the seat anymore, I would go to meetings, and that information I think is useful. I think sometimes citizens complain about not getting information, but they're also not attending any of the meetings. So I think it works both ways. I feel that now that I'm at those meetings, I'm like, oh, I would love to see someone else here besides, the employees of the city. Not that I didn't like seeing them, I love seeing them there. But I would love to, of course, continue volunteering. I do a lot of volunteer work that I don't really advertise because it's just what I do. And it's been taught to me since I was a little kid. We were sponsored by a family up in Holton. They own like the business franchise up in Aroostook County, the Degenharts, and they taught us volunteerism. And I've been volunteering ever since then. I enjoy it. I love being around people. So when COVID hit, it was devastating to me because I couldn't hug people and shake hands. So I love hugging people and shaking hands, just to warn you ahead of time. Okay? So I would definitely attend meetings, maybe join some boards that are that's something that is near and dear to what I like to accomplish within the city, regardless if I'm elected or not.
Thank you. Michelle Labrie Daniels.
First off, if I do win, all of these people who say they will be on boards are on boards.
You know it.
Jen and I are responsible for filling the boards in the city, and right now we have a huge amount of openings. So if I don't win, I'll go back on some boards. I would love to serve on the planning board. I would love to get back on the cemetery committee as a genealogist. It's my heart, so I love to be able to do that. I helped work on the vacant property ordinance before I was on the council. So that's how I kind of got into the education of it. I worked with the police department on it. I helped my doctor start the neighborhood watch in Brewer. And that's kind of how I got to here. I'm the same as Siobhan. He and I actually found out we volunteered at the Special Olympics at the University of Maine for what, 25 years, the same day, the same weekend for 25 years, and we never met each other. So we both believe in volunteerism. We end up the same things, although we hadn't met before then. I would also take a small vacation. After 2 years of mayor, I deserve like a trip somewhere really nice. And that would be it. Yeah, we're going anyway.
Okay. And next is Donna Corey.
Well, I know from watching plenty of Super Bowls that they don't ask the losers what they're going to be after game. So I'm not going to Disneyland. It's been quite an experience over the last 6 or 8 weeks since I took out papers and been talking to people and talking to people in the council departments. It's been a very much a learning process, which will continue. I'd like to be involved in some of the city government, decisions that are made, committees. I think that I've got some assets that I can bring to the table and hopefully be productive and move some of these projects ahead that we've been talking about tonight.
Thank you. And Howard Crowe.
First thing I would do is congratulate the two that were elected, and I'd also congratulate the other two that decided to throw their hat in the ring, because this isn't easy. This is probably one of the hardest things that you will ever do, putting yourself out there on a pedestal, and people taking sucker punches at you if they want to, or they pat you on the back and shake your hand. But Brewer's a great place, and I think you've got some amazing staff members, and I think you have I just think it's a great place to live, and yeah, I need to get back involved. It's a place that I've lived for 17 years. My son goes to school here, and you know, I can't think of a better place to live. So I would definitely want to get involved civically or with the school or something, whether it be coaching or something that, you know, I can bond with, you know, my son and, you know, kids he goes to school with and people that I know. So to me, it's win-win.
Thank you. I'm going to read out the question that we have here online. This is a clarifying question from Christopher Martin. Said, I have a follow-up question, and I'm not sure if it was answered from council candidates. This is a local issue. Do you support drug legalization and safe injection sites? Okay. So the question is this,
Yes or
so
no?
this is a local issue. Do you support drug legalization and safe injection sites? Okay. So for the city council members, we are going to start with.
No. Simple. No, I don't think it's right for Brewer. I don't think that we have the staff to be able to do that. The amount of, that it would cost us for, not only ambulances, yes, sometimes they have things on site, but the amount of cost I think it would be to our citizens, would be too much for our small area.
Okay. Don Corey.
Ditto. No.
Okay. Siobhan Pantag.
No, for financial reasons, and also, I think it will be, it would make some situations worse. And for people that are addicted, it may be, for some, be enabling.
Okay. Howard
No.
and Shane.
Well, I said this earlier in an answer from Councillor Moran, but I don't believe that these are local issues to sort out, because the law and policy is from the federal and state level, and there's not a whole lot we can do about that.
Can I just real quick, and I'm not gonna, I know at one point Bangor was trying to pass something with that, and I don't know what it was behind it. It has never faced us, but I do know the Bangor City Council was at one point looking into passing something to do with a safe injection site, which had a half-mile radius. And if that half-mile radius was on the waterfront, it would actually encompass our waterfront. That was about 3 years ago, and it didn't go anywhere. So I'm not quite sure how local it's not, but it hasn't come to us yet.
Can I say something too? Sorry. It's, it may be something out of our hands, but that is my personal opinion.
Just making sure we've gotten our follow-ups here online. Okay, we have a question here in the front.
My name is Joe Corey, and I know I probably should get more involved, but however, if Dawn was not running for council, I would never have known about this meeting tonight. You know, I have two kids that are, one is in the school system, one's in college now. You know, we have sports, we have grandchildren that we're picking up, and I don't sit on my phone and look at the website, and I've been on the website, by the way, and I may be a little computer illiterate, maybe that's the reason why, but I find it a little hard to navigate myself in order to find things. But my question would be, what would be your best way to try to communicate with other people? Your website, Facebook, I'll be a friend on Facebook. I'm on that, I think, more than for, other simple websites that you guys are talking about. Have the communities you guys are talking about. Like John and I are on the Penobscot Black Vision committee there, and that's the one that we are involved in. But if I wanted to be more involved, how would you help me?
Okay, is your question specifically for the city council
Oh, yes, the
seats?
city council.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure and see if you wanted to give opportunities here as well. Okay, we are going to, give me here just a moment.
And actually, you could actually include Kayla with that too, because I have kids in school, so,
Okay.
do that as well.
Big dance.
Okay,
In the town square.
so, let's start here with Shane, please.
Wonderful question. That's something that I've really been focused on in talking with folks in the community, that they just don't know what's going on. And I think there isn't an easy solution because we're not all always looking at the same source or the same sites. I think we need to take a broad approach. We need to go a little old school. We need to put messages in the paper. There are, believe it or not, people who still read the paper, get the paper every day, and that's their primary source of information. We need to get them that information. We need, I think, to update the city website to make it more user-friendly. I consider myself to be pretty computer literate, but I still get confused and turned around when I go look for information on that website. I think, having a Facebook page for the city where we can share important updates would be helpful. Not everyone is on Facebook. I'm also, for looking a little bit into the future. I've seen a lot of municipalities or politicians that have TikToks. And if you don't know what it is, it's short little videos on your phone that you can just scroll through infinitely. But there are some great towns and cities that have made a TikTok account where they post updates and they do, meet the staff, meet the city councilors, just little snippet videos that get out to people. So I think we need to be taking a broad approach. And full disclosure, that is going to require money. We do have to pay if we put something in the paper. We would have to have someone who's maintaining a website or Facebook. But if that is what the people of the city of Brewer want, then I think it may be a worthy investment.
Okay, we are going to go to Howard Kroll.
Repeat the question.
No worries. The question is based around communication. And the original statement was if she had been here and participating with Mr. Corey that wouldn't necessarily know about the events that were happening. So how can we improve that with your plan to improve communication within the community? Is that all right? Okay.
Glad you asked that, because I'll tell you, it seems like every other day I get an email from a gentleman named Greg Palmer. Back there. I'll tell you, he is a master at communication with parents, students, and I feel like I know more about COVID because of you. And honestly, that's a compliment, because I think you go above and beyond to communicate with residents, and I think it's getting back to kind of like what Shane said, getting back to the basics. And if that requires, the BDN or the weekly, or even if it's putting it on the marquee sign at the auditorium, there's a way to communicate, because obviously, it was done centuries long before us, and it was successful. And I think we need to go back and see what the public really wants for communication. I think we've got some excellent examples right here in Brewer that we could lean on to accomplish that.
Okay. I'm going to break ranks a little bit from the city council, and I'm going to hop over to Kayla. She has to as well. So Kayla, done.
Thank you. I would say that I am old school, so please pick up the phone and call me. I'm more than happy to provide resources and information about what's going on. The school committee meets once a month, and it's the first Monday of every month. So if you're in this room and you want to be involved, the school committee meetings would welcome you. That's a public forum. If you have a question about what's going on in the school, I would encourage you to pick up the phone and call the administrative offices. in terms of where your child goes to school to know what's going on. And if you are more tech savvy, then I would say seek the communication channels by Facebook or Instagram, or if you're a TikToker, then hop on TikTok, because that's the communication channel of the future. Is the kids are on their screens. So
Okay, thank you. And we have Sue on Pentai.
I think this question came up, the last time we were, here in this room. And, we came up with some great ideas, but I like Shane's thought about, let's kind of like get a poll from the citizens of Brewer. See, what is your best way to communicate, and kind of pinpoint and target that, because we threw out a lot of possibilities. Because, we know that there's free boards that we can post on, and community boards and stuff like that for TV and radio. But who's going to be responsible for making that happen and all that good stuff? But to reach out to the citizens Brewer, find out what actually really works for them, and then we can kind of pinpoint which direction we should steer our announcements of what's going on. And you are absolutely right. It is hard, even for me, who's on the city council, to get some of the information from the website. It's kind of hard to navigate a little bit. And I know it's not because I'm not tech savvy, because I've been in that industry for a while, navigating through and finding information for my clients and things like that. Yes, we could do a better job. I think we should definitely focus our attention to what works for the citizens of Brewer, and hit that as a venue to kind of post what we have going on. But yes, there's standard meetings, and maybe it's just not out there enough, but the standard meetings are great. Thank you for mentioning those.
And Michelle?
So as with anything, and I will drag Subhan in with me on this.
Sure.
We tried for our first year or so to get the city, they did create a Facebook page. It was up for only a very short time. The library still has the one we worked on them getting, so they're active with that. The library does a very good job. I also agree, Greg Plummer is top communicator. I don't even have kids in school and I know what's going on. Like, so, I mean, I get forwarded things that say what he's doing. I have even posted on Facebook announcing the committees that have openings to try to get people to come in and serve. We got no one. I tracked down, my neighbors serve on committees. If you ask them, like my street, like serves on committees. I'm like, I need you, please come and serve on this. So we're attempting to get people to come in. I agree. How do we get people to communicate? We're out there saying, please come to our meetings. Please, please do this. But yet we get one or two people maximum, sometimes none. Yes, we hold very quick meetings. They're not going to be 2 hours, 3 hours long. You can come in and find out what you need to in a very short period of time. But I agree. We need to get back on Facebook. We need to be able to have something where it's posted. Hey, we've got a bunch of openings for this stuff. Hey, this is going on. What's the easiest communication method? I am not going to be on TikTok. If I'm forced, I'll do it. But there's a lot of good means of communication. It's just a question of getting them out there, and it's also cost. It is someone that they're going to have the city be responsible for posting on Facebook, for making sure the website is updated every day. Right from city council? No. I can post my own, like I post under me, just, hey, we've got things, but that is a responsibility of the city for their communications with the public. Do I agree? Should our emails be on the website? Absolutely. We should be available to everybody to reach us. Home phones used to be out there where you could just look us up. I don't have a home phone. Do you have a home phone? No. So you've got to get us somehow.
Right.
Yeah.
And Don Corey.
Well, I'm involved with several organizations, and this is a problem that everybody has. when you sometimes in meetings, you actually ask people or tell them that you need help, need volunteers, and nobody puts their hand up. And they're sitting in front of you, so it's not a case of we're not getting the information to them. I think we need to go down a bunch of different avenues because one means of communication doesn't work for everybody. I spent 30 years in a large daily newspaper here in the general area. The last stint was the IT director, and so I'm a little bit literate with what's going on. But one thing doesn't work for everybody. And there's people hard to believe, but there's people in Brewer that don't have email, that aren't on the internet. I got a mother-in-law who's that way, and she can't get communications from the school for her grandson. She has to call or whatever. And so one method doesn't work for everybody. But what I will say about volunteerism and getting people involved, it's odd if you call them, like Kayla said, with a phone call, if you call them and say, geez, we really need your time and talent. You could really be a big help on the planning board, or you could be really a big help on the cemetery committee. A lot of times they're willing to do that. And sometimes it's a case where they don't think that they're qualified to do it. But sometimes it takes that personal contact. Maybe you see them at Dunkin' Donuts or, geez, you do a great job at this. And then they say, well, what's involved? And you tell them, it's like, yeah, I'll be willing to help out. But 1 minute, Sarah, give me a break. That's my first sign. I just think that, again, that no one method works for everybody. TikTok, I'm with Michelle. I'm not going to be doing any TikTok shuffle dancing.
You say that now.
Right.
Trust me.
Do it, I'll join you.
Trust me. Yeah. I've seen your back to it.
Oh, yeah.
But I think we need to do the better job of communicating in the city. I think there can be a communication problem between different areas, between the council and the citizens. I mean, I'm going to say 30 seconds. I'm going to say that I had to look up and see who was on the council when I took on my nomination papers. And that's sad to say. I mean, I'm a long-time Brewer resident, and it's horrible. And I had to search and find who were the council members. Bingo.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. Okay, so I am thinking that we have more questions. We also have another question that is online. I'm trying to be respectful of people's time because it is almost 8 o'clock and we want to give everybody who's running for a position the chance to do a closing statement. So we should share the question or just go ahead with closing.
It's kind of a complicated question. I was gonna say like the speed round lightning answer, but maybe
Okay.
share the question. It's a complicated one. I don't know if you can answer this in a couple of words.
So yeah, I want to give people the chance to respond to it, if possible, and then we'll do closing statements, okay? But maybe we do half the time if we can do it. Okay. So the question comes from Christopher Martin online. He says, I have one last question for the evening. Penobscot County Jail has reduced regional bookings, which means that we arrest less people who should be arrested. The jail infrastructure is crumbling. Dispatch infrastructure is crumbling. Brewer is the second largest taxpayer in county taxes. Limited regional booking potential of failed dispatch. What do you do, and do you support a new expanded jail?
We're
We're gonna do 2 minutes instead of 3.
I could do like an hour.
2 minutes.
That's not a 30 seconds.
Well,
Yeah,
we'll
and
try.
I wanted
We'll
to try
try.
a question at the very least.
Yeah, we'll try.
And give you about maybe 2 minutes, and then we can go through that. So we are going to start. Let's see what.
Oh, right. Okay, so, it is a shame that, we're not booking those that are a danger to the citizens, at large. We visited we were given a tour of, the county jail and saw the living conditions there and understood and spoke with, those that are working there and understand the pains that they're going through, trying to make it work. It does seem like we need space. We are wasting money sending inmates elsewhere throughout the state. It is so much more costly that way. But the cost of building a new jail is immense, and a burden that is very hard to bear for the citizens on both sides of the river and the county as a whole. I brought up at this time when we were discussing this, what can we do more when it comes to mental health? A lot of these people do not belong in jail. They belong in rehab centers or places where they can get help for some of their mental needs. So that is the direction that I would go with that. And I wish there was a magic pill, but I don't think there is an easy magic pill to swallow for this one.
Okay, we are going to go to Don Corey.
I think my thought on this is, I think it's a crime that we are not able to put the people where they need to be, whether it be in a mental health place or at the jail. We have our law enforcement people out in the streets 24/7. And I just feel like we're not supporting them when they run across people that are doing this, doing that, and they they don't write them, they don't arrest them because they know that there's no room for them. So they're just going to be back on the street. And I don't think that's doing anything for the safety of our citizens of the city of Brewer. You know, there's no magic pot of money to come up with money to build a new jail. I understand that too, but I think if we try to look at getting people where they need to be, maybe that will free up some of the space in the jail on a short-term basis, and then we can, do some planning for a long term.
Thank you. Shane Boyce.
Excellent. Thanks for the question. I'm going to agree in large part with Councillor Pantai. I think, especially what he said about the fact that unfortunately there are probably quite a few folks who are currently in the Penobscot County Jail that should be in a mental health treatment facility or other facility. I know that this is an issue that the Penobscot County Commissioners are working on and have been working on, and they're trying to find the best solution. And I know there are strong opinions on both sides here. Does it make more sense to invest a bunch of money into an incarceration facility that we know we're just going to continue to fill with people that might be better served by a mental health facility where we could put our money towards that? I think, we want to listen to our police. We want to listen to the folks that are on the ground dealing with this every single day before we make any decisions. But I think, as Councillor Pantai stated, the conditions in the jail are not good. And even folks who have committed crimes, I think, deserve some basic human dignity. And the current conditions in the jail do not provide that. So we have to do something.
Thank you. Michelle?
Okay. So ARPA gave $30 million to the Penobscot County. 10 million of that $30 million can be put towards a new jail, which would alleviate taxpayer money going towards that jail. They have that money to go towards it. Right now, in the past 3 years, basically, we had an officer punched in the face by someone he was arresting. That person was not allowed to go into the jail because they didn't have any room. A violent offender was let back out on the street because there was no room to put him in that jail. At some points, they have to call around as far as Portland to be able to take people that need to go to jail. We have people walking around Brewer, and I can't remember if it's a warrant, the name of the actual thing, sometimes 11 to 12 warrants against them. They are not taken into the jail. What that does to our police department, what that does to their staff, knowing that they are not going to be able to do that. They've gone down to the absolute last that they can go to. The kitchen had a leak so badly that they had to bring in food at $10 a person per day instead of $1 something per day. The elevator doesn't work. all of these things, if you add that up, it's cost-wise, you have to go to a new jail. Adding on to it is not gonna be the solution to help our police department, and that's what they need right now is our help. Done. I'm pretty proud of myself for that.
30 seconds to spare.
I know Chris mentioned that the communication infrastructure was failing, but I gotta ask the question. 3 years ago during the summer, the county took out a bond for about $8 million to improve their infrastructure. What happened to that money? As far as the jail, I think the mayor hit the nail on the head. The county has $30 million of COVID relief money that they are not doing anything with. And I think that's a bigger crime than anything is. They've had a design, they've had cost estimates, and they've done nothing with it because of fear of it failing. And quite honestly, I think we're beyond listening to the excuses of why we're not doing it. It's something that when we have a police officer that they're there to defend the law and they're violently attacked and their life is in jeopardy, and that person's going to be allowed to stay out on the street, that's unacceptable. And I know it's not just happening here, but I think this council, regardless if I'm on it or not, really needs to put a tremendous amount of pressure on the county commissioners to spend that money and do something about that jail, because everything that she just mentioned, the elevator failing and the water dripping, those are major violations of a facility that should not be existing in this day and age. So I think this council needs to be extremely aggressive in this coming this year to put the pressure on. You're the second largest paying taxpayer in the county. Prove it. I'll leave it at that.
Can I just add just really quick so people know, as a council, for the first time ever with the county commissioners, all 5 council members from the city of Brewer went to the council, went to the county commissioners and asked them to please do something about this. As a group, they were shocked. The city manager went, the police chief went, police chiefs all around have asked for them to please do something about this. So just FYI, like if you don't have the background on it, that's part of, but I agree, we can do more.
I'm gonna add one thing to that too. I think the court system needs help for speedy trial. If there's any way for us to make that happen, I know it's a big, tall order to ask for that to happen, but people are staying in jail longer because they're not giving it the court. Yeah, there's a backlog of that, and we need to get speedy trial for those that are in there filling up the space.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we're just about here, almost at the 8 o'clock mark, and so we're perfect. We're going to give each candidate 1 minute for a closing statement. So if you would like to say something, we are going to start with our Brewer High School District Trustees. I'll start with Ruth Brewer Feldman, if you'd like to.
I just wanted you all to know I've been a citizen of Brewer all my life, just about. I was born and brought up on Chamberlain Street, born in the same house. I've been a member of the Brewer School Committee for 29 years. And during that time, I was a member of the UTC board. That's United Technology Center, 27 years. And I've been on the trustees for, I don't remember, 2 or 3 terms. And well, I feel I have a lot of experience and knowledge to offer to the group, and I'd like to continue doing that. And I appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Timothy Daniel.
Yeah, I'm not gonna rehash a lot of stuff that we went over tonight, because, wow, a lot of stuff. I'm a team player. I'll work with anybody to get anything done. As long as it's responsible, as long as it's not gonna cost people a ton of money. I've been on the Board of Appeals for, well, Kevin tapped me to do that. That was like 12 years ago. I got done doing that because the conflict of interest between that and my wife becoming the council member. So now I'm on the planning board. Been doing that for 3 years and don't plan on stopping that either. I'd love to have you vote too, but I don't know, it bothers me a lot with talking with the jail, and I'm trying not to, that's what's hitting in my brain right now. There's a lot of wants and needs the community has. To figure out and to try to give everybody what they want and need is hard. And I'm glad I'm not going to be on the council. But they'll get through it because they have to work as a team. They also have to work with the city. The city and the council sometimes don't seem like they have the same plan in mind. And I'm going to be careful here. I don't want to take a bullet or open up a whole new can of worms. But I would just love to see people come together and work. Get on the same page. There's too many things that are hidden that shouldn't be. So I'll end it there.
Okay, we are going to jump over to our Brewer School Board. Kayla Dunn.
Thank you. I'll just echo what I said earlier in my opening remarks in that I have a fiscal responsibility to make sure that there is a voice for your school committee, to your school faculty, staff, and students. And I also recognize that I have a civic duty and responsibility to ensure that I am being part of this organization in terms of the community that we serve for future generations, and the future of our state is right here in our school district. So if we don't invest in them, no one will.
Thank you. We will go to our city council seats, and we are going to start with Don Corey.
Well, I'd like to thank BEA and Megan and her staff of thousands for putting this on tonight. I think for everybody here, including myself, it's been an eye-opening experience. In addition to being a resident, I own a small business here in Brewer down on the dreaded waterfront, the great waterfront. It's a fly fishing business. I'd hoped there'd been a few fly fishing questions that I could have shined on. But that didn't happen.
You can fish for their vote, right?
Yeah. But I just, I'd just like to say that I think that I can bring some things to the table and hopefully not make changes just to make changes, but look at, evaluate things and try to make changes that make sense. And it needs to make sense both for our residents and fiscally, and it's a process. So I hope that you will vote for the two best people that you feel will do the best job. And if I'm one of them, I'd be honored to serve the city.
Thank you. Michelle Reed.
I too want to thank the BEA for having us here. We greatly appreciate it. And I know a lot of people were looking forward to this, so I'm glad that you planned it. I'm going to be really brief, and I'm going to address something that doesn't affect me. When we bring things into this, people who drop off things on a candidate that whether it has fact, whether it doesn't, that is not Brewer. This is not how we work. We work together. Shane and I may not believe in the same thing at all, but we are nonpartisan as council members. I don't even know what some of the council members I serve with are in political, views. That's not how we go. So to bring something in like that is inappropriate and it is not acceptable. So if you'd like to vote for me, my name is Michelle Daniels, and I hope to serve you guys in the future.
Thank you, Mayor Daniels.
Thank you. Howard Kroll.
Like everyone mentioned, I want to thank you, Megan, for sending me that text message the other night. I greatly appreciate it because without that, I wouldn't be here. And
I want to echo what Don said. Please vote for the two best candidates you feel will serve the city the best going forward, because you have a lot of responsibility at fingertips and you have a lot of, you've got the future in front of you that I think is, we're at some very big crossroads when it comes to
society and the way Brewer is evolving. And it was nice meeting everyone this evening. I greatly appreciate the opportunity. And I want to wish everyone the best of luck next Tuesday night. Thank you.
Thank you. We are going to Shane Boyce.
Excellent. I'd like to thank all of you for coming tonight. This is what participative democracy looks like. People showing up, asking questions, and getting involved. I would encourage you to continue on this pathway and attend the next city council meeting, attend the next school committee meeting, attend the next board of trustees meeting, and then the next one.
Where's the schedule?
And we'll get that for you. And then the one after that too. The elected officials in this city work for you. Don't forget that. With that being said, I would like to use some of my time to acknowledge the hard work and dedication of the two incumbents in this race, Mayor Daniels and Deputy Mayor Pantai. I would like to thank them both for everything that they have done for the city of Brewer. Please join me in a round of applause. Finally, I'd like to encourage you all to vote. Your vote is your voice. While I'd be honored to have earned your vote, I would encourage you to vote even if you don't vote for me. Show up, stand up, get involved, and thank you so very much for this opportunity. Yeah, that too.
How do I follow that? That's pretty good.
Right.
I'm standing up. I'm standing up because I need to stretch my legs. Well, thank you to the VA for putting this together. I was really looking forward to this. Didn't know it was going to happen or not. So I'm so excited that it happened. And I got a text this morning and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm canceling everything. I'm going. But no, I wanted to wrap up by saying that I had the pleasure of serving this past 3 years and felt like Mayor Daniels and I were able to get things done that we initially were talking about when we first were running together. We didn't know that we were going to be elected together, and I don't know if we're going to be elected this time around. But to be on the same page really does make a difference. We fought to make sure that we had some presence in the communications through Facebook and being able to announce. We're pretty active on social media and making sure people know what's going on within our community. And please, you can friend me if you want. You can. I have a counselor page. So if I come back on board and get voted in, I really appreciate your vote. I will do my best to bring Brewer up to date with technology, make sure our processes are efficient, make sure we are as accommodating as we can be to businesses that want to start here and families that want to start here. And I know that we already are, but there's always room for improvement. And I really think that we have great things coming forward to us, and I would like to have your vote. Thanks for coming.
All right, I would like to thank all the candidates for stepping forward to provide support for the community. And thank you all, everyone who attended both online and here in person, for your time and for your questions. Especially thank you to everybody for the short notice. The VEA, we had gone back and forth. This is something we haven't done for years. So to be able to host this event and for people to show up and participate and ask questions is really encouraging. So it's something that we will continue to work on and that we will continue to have people that support with that. So thank you very much for all of your time, for your questions, and I hope everyone has a great evening. Get out and vote next week.